back in the day, Story Collaborative used to do what we call branded photo shoots. So they were extremely high-end photo shoots. We would go into businesses and we would get models and we would have locations, and it was like a whole thing. And we worked with a friend of mine who she is incredible, but she is from Germany. And so she had never experienced the national anthem before. So at noon, we're right in the middle of a photo shoot, and all of a sudden, the national anthem starts playing. Everyone stands up, takes their hats off, put their hands on their heart, and she's sitting there. I think actually we were eating our lunch at that point, and she's got a mouthful of like barbecue, and she's looking around, shell-shocked. She didn't know what to do. Afterwards, I sit down, and she was like, I don't know what just happened. That was the most bizarre experience I've ever had in my whole life. Everyone knew what to do, but what was happening? So I explained it to her, and she said, wow, that's super weird, because growing up in Germany, we have no sense of patriotism or nationalism. We're a very ashamed country. And that was also shocking to me, this idea that the shame from World War II is still carried generations later. Welcome to Braveheart Business Growth, where we champion and equip change-making leaders to grow their business and fight for the next generation. I'm Amy Alexander, co-host and focus czar of growth strategists.
Hi, I'm David Mills, and I'm also a co-host. It's an honored position, and I am the mad scientist of growth strategists.
And I am Chad Alexander. I'm a co-host as well. I am the chaos theorist of growth strategists.
Wow, you guys are really awkward. Every time you say that you're a co-host, you're like, also, it's very weird. I recognize it's weird, but it's pretty fun.
I mean, it's totally fine that we're awkward, guys. Life is awkward sometimes.
Yeah, well.
And sometimes we're awkward.
Yeah, exactly.
But not usually me, usually you guys. Hey, I got a special offer for people that subscribe to our podcast. Ooh. For a limited time, a time which I will determine how long it is. If you sign up for our podcast, I will send you one of these stickers right here, and you can put it on your laptop, on your forehead, on your window, on your bumper, whatever you want. But it's a special sticker. So just a free offer for those who subscribe.
How would you subscribe? What are the logistics of subscribing to a podcast, Dave?
I have no idea. You're in charge of this podcast.
And for those who are watching on video, it is a story sticker. So it's our brand. If you like our brand enough.
Story sticker.
You know,
okay, listen.
Cool, that would be really cool.
You can subscribe on YouTube, or you can follow us in the podcast app you're using. Okay. Today, we are discussing how companies transform the world around them. And what is a good hard thing? Dave brought the idea of a good hard thing to us. It is transformed. It's actually becoming like our business mission. So we're kind of obsessed with it. But Dave, why don't you open us up and just talk about, like, where did this idea come from?
Well, I got the privilege of attending the Faith Driven Entrepreneurs Conference about 2 weeks ago. It was a virtual conference. You could have attended if you want to go to Africa, or they had watch parties, but I did it virtually. And one of the speakers was Andy Crouch from Praxis. And so Andy was talking to really, what are we supposed to be about as businesses? What are we trying to accomplish in the world as businesses? And he began talking about the kind of work we want to create, which we'll talk about more as we go on. And then he said these magical words. He said, our job as companies is not really just to make life easier for people. It's actually to help people accomplish good, hard things. And I realized that little phrase, good, hard things, really wrapped up the thing that we've been trying to do since we started this company. Like 10 years ago, we've been working on, how do we say this? How do we do this? We want to work with companies that are accomplishing transformative, meaningful, worthwhile, impactful stuff. And we realized that he had wrapped all that up in a single phrase, which I thought was so cool. Amy made a really good comment when she heard it. What did you say? Do you remember what you said? You said, it's like we just discovered our meaning for existence.
I did. I did say that. So at the exact same time, David found this video from Andy Crouch where he basically said, "We are not designed to toil and then leisure. In America especially, but really I
Mm.
think it's like the human dream is like I'm going to toil in a horrible way so that I can leisure, which both are so fruitless, but we are actually created to do meaningful work, hard work, and then rest. And that's like a biblical idea. So those two things were happening at the same time. And for me, like the combination of let's work hard in a way that is not always comfortable, and then let's rest in God's provision after a really good day's work. And then the idea that my day's work would be helping companies do good, hard things is like, yeah, it blew my mind. It did.
Yeah, it blew my mind too. Actually, it definitely did. And we're caught up in kind of a culture in which like the norm, like the American dream is now work like crazy while you stay digitally hardwired to the internet personally 24/7 until you drop from exhaustion or you escape into something else, right? You go binge watch an entire TV series, you junk food out, whatever. So it's this cycle of toil and leisure
Mm.
that is not creating good work and good rest.
Mm.
And so I was really inspired by that. But this idea of good hard things is what allows us to do good work and then enjoy the satisfaction that we've done something actually meaningful. And that's really the key for us. And so really this is becoming a mission or purpose statement for us as a company, that we exist to help other companies and nonprofits accomplish good, hard things.
There's this author, her name's Catherine Wolfe, and she suffered a crazy stroke, a very unexpected stroke at the age of like 26. She had like a 9-month-old or something, young, happy, married mom, and she was paralyzed from it. She has since been able to, now she's in a wheelchair and she can talk, although it's labored, and but she has gone on to write some books and form this idea around things that are good hard. She actually has a word, good hard. And this, again, I was reading this book and listening to her at the same time, all these things, and God's like, his steps are ordered. And so it's never a surprise when you look back and go, oh, I was learning the same thing 3 ways. Because he just really wanted me to listen. But what she says is, and this is like a mantra she gives her children: you were created to do the hard things and the good story God is writing of your life. And that is so counterculture, and yet it's something I'm so drawn to. Like, I want to do the hard things and the good story. Like, what could be more meaningful than that, you know?
I love that story.
Amy, what's that phrase that you told me that it's like having a freedom of suffering, where we want to exercise our right to do something that is hard work, but it's for a meaningful purpose above ourselves?
Yeah, Jordan Peterson tells a story, and I don't remember the exact phrase, but I will find it and put it in the show notes. But Jordan Peterson tells this story of one of his drivers. He's like one of those like salt of the earth, blue collar, really interesting guys, and he was, I guess he was kind of learning about his life, and he was this guy was listing all these things he's done in his life, all these adventures he's taken, all these hard jobs he's had, all these, I think he was in the military. And essentially he said something to the effect of, I want the freedom to choose a challenge. I want the freedom to go do the hard thing. And there's also this same idea is mimicked in a lot of really important authors that are sort of like anti-Marxist and anti-totalitarian, is like, we need the freedom. I think actually there's maybe something in 1984 or what's that? There's a really important Russian book that talks about totalitarianism. Really famous. It's escaping me. But anyway, this isn't what?
War
Nothing.
and Peace? No.
Not War and Peace.
No, there's another one. We all had to read, or I had to read it in high school. Anyway, it's about this like really depressing guy. But the point being, this is an idea, and I think especially we all want this, but I've said this before in past podcasts, especially men. Men's sort of the drive and um the inherent adventurer in men has been so emasculated and demoralized in our current culture that men have forgotten and are not being raised in such a way that they're being challenged and told to go do the hard things and go on the adventure and hike up the mountain and like not toil but like work for something meaningful. And so the idea that we actually need the freedom to choose the hard path is, I think, biblical, and it's just American.
Well, I think it's wired into who we are as human beings. I think you're talking about Solzhenitsyn's The Gulag Archipelago is the book you're actually talking about. Let's transition here from talking about the philosophical, the Solzhenitsyns of the world and the Gulag Archipelagos that you were talking about, to what in the world does this have to do with marketing and sales? What does it have to do with growth of companies and nonprofits? So the reality is that a lot of the work that's being done in marketing and sales has the characteristic of being fruitless. You know, like Lean Labs did some research, and they found out that 84% of marketing campaigns barely break even. That means that all the labor that went into them, all the creative, the cost, the management expense or the budget that went into that is like barely recouped, if at all. And so that's fruitless. And also in the world of marketing and sales, there's tons of people who are stressed out, overworked, and you know what it comes down to, it's mostly toil. And the business managers that lead them are having the same experience. I was on the phone today with a guy who says his manager works till 7:30 every day, every single night. And so, you know, we're engaging with a market. The idea is if I work harder, maybe I'll get more done. But the truth is it's just toil with no profit. And so we have to bring this idea of accomplishing good, hard things. You know, it's not possible to accomplish good, hard things if you don't live to tell about it, because you are working so hard in such a frustrated, stressed out way that you don't even survive it.
Someone asked me the other day how things were going, how was work, and I was trying to describe to them what it's like to work hard in a way that is not stress induced.
Mhm.
And what I kind of, the conclusion I came to is that part of what's happening right now in my personal season of work is that I have a lot on my plate. And yet I feel that every action I take is focused and on purpose and is meaningful. And so I'm existing in like a low stress, highly productive work environment. And I think so much of marketing, because it's like throwing spaghetti at the wall. And even if you find maybe some kind of vendor who gives you a strategy and you feel kind of like you understand the plan, there's still that feeling often of what we're doing is not producing. We're just going to have to do more or whatever. But it's kind of unfocused in a way. Like it feels meaningless, feels like nothing's happening. And there's a really, I mean, I've had seasons of my life where I was working in a high stress, high, pressure environment where my steps felt meaningless. And that's a very different feeling.
I think too, the other side of this is, you know, a lot of these relationships between vendors, maybe marketing vendors or software vendors, and the companies they're trying to use and be involved with them, it's not collaborative. So it's kind of like, I've got all these secrets. I'm not going to tell you what they are, except maybe a little teeny bit at a time if you pay me enough money, rather than the vendor becoming a collaborative partner and saying, hey, let me teach you how to do this. You know, let me teach you how to do this. So I would say part of our role is to work with companies collaboratively in terms of our mission and to help them to have this same good experience of good work and good rest, because they are running a system that works. They understand how to operate it. They know what the KPIs are. They know what to do. And so we reduce this frustration and this sense of fruitlessness because we're getting something done, which is the agile thing, right? GSD, get stuff done.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
let's talk a little bit about since we've kind of discussed why this matters in marketing and sales, and we know that a salesperson, if they're not having fun and they're frustrated, that's hard to do, right? Especially if they're doing any kind of cold sales at all. So what are good hard things? What is that idea? What does it mean? And let's talk about the details. And so it's important to say, like, we are on a journey on this thing. We haven't figured it all out, but we are wrestling with this concept because we believe it describes the combination of this good work, good rest, and the other side of it, which is creating transformation, creating change in the lives of people. So it's not just the fact that Amy has a good work rest rhythm. It's also because she's creating impact in someone else's life at the same time. So that makes it fruitful. And so I think there's a balance here between what's happening internally and what's happening externally, but they both relate to this
Mm.
idea of good hard things. So let's kind of break down what are good hard things. And should I show the graphic? Would that be helpful?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think it's fair to say not only are we on a journey, but our definition of good hard things is for a very specific purpose.
Mhm.
There's lots of things that are good hard things that for us don't fit in the Venn diagram of like marketing and the Bible and our very specific purpose.
So here's the diagram that
Mm.
we're working with right now. It is a Venn diagram. We apologize. You've seen these so many times, but it's helpful to kind of figure out where's the sweet spot, right? So the good hard things are in the center of three things: work or business activity, nonprofit activity that's transformative. The second one, the second element is it brings people closer to their highest and best. And the third thing is it it offers results that go beyond the regular outcomes that we would probably see from the culture or the economy. So those three things, transformative, it brings people closer to their highest and best, and it creates results that are beyond the regular outcomes that we might expect from culture or economy. So let's break those three things down. Let's talk a little bit about transformative. We say transformative, that's a pretty common term. Um, what comes to your mind when you think of transformative? What do you see?
I've learned recently that narcissism creates depression. And the more you think
Mm.
about your own feelings, the worse you feel. It's a scientific reality of narcissism and generally thinking too much about how you're feeling. And this is important because it is something that culture is currently teaching kids to do. Culture is teaching kids to assess their feelings constantly. Kids are really depressed. And so the other day, one of my daughters was going into preschool. She was feeling sad, as many of our preschool mornings sound a lot like both of my twins saying, "Mommy, but I'm going to miss you." And me saying, "I know, hon, I'm going to miss you too." And like, what do you say after that? There's no way to fix it because she's still going to have to go in. And so after I learned this, I started to tell them, you know what you can do? It's okay to feel sad, but after you've felt sad for a minute, you can go in and you can find another little boy or girl, or even your teacher, and ask them how they're doing. Give them a hug, make sure they're feeling okay, because as soon as you start asking someone else how they feel and paying attention to them, is the minute you start to feel better. And that's the other part of the science is that when you start to look outside yourself and care about other people and be empathetic and stop worrying so much about yourself, is when you start to be healthier. And I absolutely believe that's the way we're made. And for me, the transformative element for a business of good, hard things is being a little bit less self-consumed and worrying a little less about whether or not your generosity or what you're doing is going to create wealth for yourself or whatever, and worrying a lot more about the legacy and the footprint you're
Mm.
leaving for your employees and for the community around you.
Yeah, what are the two greatest commandments? Love God and love people. It's not love yourself, make sure you're validated, feel good in your body, none of those things. Jesus didn't say any of that stuff. Even though it is important to have some self-confidence and to, love your neighbor as yourself, it's get the neighbor right first, and then you can, and that makes more sense to me now, Amy, from what you just said. Love your neighbor as yourself. If you love your neighbor, love them first, and then you say, oh, okay, I guess I'm not, their mommy's away for 2 weeks, whatever. Gives you perspective, because your reality is your perspective, right? Or how's that saying go? I don't know.
Your perception is reality.
Is reality. Thank you. Yes, thank you.
So in our perspective,
on sayings today.
In our perspective, if you're doing good, hard things, that means with your employees and outside of your company and your community with your customers and the industry, you are transforming those spaces around you. So for some companies, that could be that, your industry has been such a bad place to work for so long that the big lift for you is just to create good work and good rest. If you could do that, that is actually a good, hard thing. And I'd say for most companies, just the work part of this alone is certainly a good, hard thing. But we want to add to that the circle of impact you're creating outside and around your company. We could probably start with customers, but transformation in the life of your customers, in your community, in your industry. Some industries are full of really bad practices. They're very deceptive. They shortchange customers. People know what those things are. They talk about them. But for you to change the industry by doing different is really a good, hard thing. And also we have to add to this the whole area of actually working on things that are really social good. They may go beyond the commercial interest of your company. They may go beyond the direct commercial interest, but they might need to be done. They might be things that you feel need to be done. And there's lots of examples of companies doing that. So they add the good work, good rest to doing good social things. And so there's a whole continuum of the way we might approach this. So a couple examples. Companies that have built social good into their business model. So these are companies that have commercial interest. And so example would be Malawi Pizza. They sell pizza. Their commercial interest is to sell really good pizza, and they do. They sell really good pizza. It's delicious. But their social interest is that they want to feed children in Malawi. So every pizza helps feed a child, right? So they've built into their business model the ability to do good as a result of buying a pizza. The commercial act creates a social impact. Tom's Shoes, everyone knows about Tom's Shoes, right? You buy a pair of shoes, then shoes get donated. And in my experience around the world, having damage to your feet, infections in your feet, dirty feet, which is really common across major portions of the world, that's a great way to be not going to school, not working, and getting sick. So shoes can be a big deal, right? But that's built into the business model. And so no matter what you're working on, if you have this good work, good rest plus transformation, that really is the combination of the first two things that we would define as being a good, hard thing.
Yeah, we have a local restaurant called Mission Barbecue. It's local, although it's a chain across the East Coast.
It's a chain, yeah.
Yeah. What I meant local was regional. But anyway, so across the East Coast, Mission Barbecue, really good barbecue. I hear their cornbread's good, although I've never had it. But their whole thing is around first responders. So when you go into any Mission Barbecue, you will see from ceiling to floor pictures that people, first responders, cops, sheriffs, firefighters, military, they bring stuff in from the community, pictures of themselves, awards they've gotten, and they line the walls with these badges and these photos. In our own Mission Barbecue, we have a photo up of Chad's great-grandfather, who was a sheriff in Stafford, Virginia. So there's like this really great community feel. But more importantly, they've donated like $20 million to first responders since they opened. They also have these like big catering trucks, and they provide free food at community events, especially those around firefighters and first responders.
Yeah, they'll do Veterans Day events, Labor Day events, Memorial Day events, that sort of thing. This episode is sponsored by Mission Barbecue. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just
So
kidding. guys, I'm
Amy,
just kidding.
Amy, you've brought up the third thing that we consider to be one of the characteristics of a good hard thing, and that is doing things that go beyond the course of what culture or the economy would normally produce. So I want you to think about this. If you go to Mission Barbecue at noon, what happens? Everyone stands up, right? And they sing the national anthem, or it's a Pledge of Allegiance, I think. So they're giving money.
It's the national anthem.
So they're $20 million since they opened, a little over 10 years ago. So they're doing two things that are outside the normal course of the economy or culture. The first one is they are honoring first responders. And we all know the culture that we've been in our country last couple of years, which is the opposite. So they're doing something really counterculture.
Mm-hmm.
The second thing they're doing is that they are also being generous and they're giving this money away. So they're creating a double transformation. And then I hope, and I don't know a lot about their internal work ethic. I hope it's good work, good rest. I hope it is. And so that's important. That's the balance we're looking for. That's the second thing, transformation beyond the course of what the culture or economy would normally produce. And then the third thing is helping people reach their highest potential.
So before you go on, I have to tell my Mission Barbecue national anthem story. So back in the day, Story Collaborative used to do what we call branded photo shoots. So they were extremely high-end photo shoots. We would go into businesses and we would get models and we would have locations, and it was like a whole thing. And we worked with a friend of mine who she is incredible. In fact, I will put a link to the show notes to her website just because she's that good. She works in DC, but she is from Germany. And so she had never experienced the national anthem before. So at noon, we're right in the middle of a photo shoot, and all of a sudden, the national anthem starts playing. Everyone stands up, takes their hats off, put their hands on their heart, and she's sitting there. I think actually we were eating our lunch at that point, and she's got a mouthful of like barbecue, and she's looking around, shell-shocked. She didn't know what to do. Afterwards, I sit down, and she was like, I don't know what just happened. That was the most bizarre experience I've ever had in my whole life. Everyone knew what to do, but what was happening? So I explained it to her, and she said, wow, that's super weird because growing up in Germany, we have no sense of patriotism or nationalism. We're a very ashamed country. And that was also shocking to me, this idea that the shame from World War II is still carried generations later. She's never grown up in patriotism and didn't know what that looked like. Anyway, it was it was not only hilarious, but also it was like a real eye opener for me about what it's like to live in a country where patriotism is not the norm. And I see us moving that way. And that is certainly not something I want my children to experience. Anyway, I wanted to share that story.
You bring up something really important, which is, kind of shame-based culture. And it's actually the norm in a lot of parts of the world is shame-based culture. And so this idea that, a company like Mission Barbecue would work on honor, I think is really a powerful thing for us to think about, right? And it changes the way we think about transformation. When a first responder or veteran goes into that place and they see all these badges and patches and pictures and helmets and jerseys from, their world, that's uplifting. That's transformative for people. And they're going way beyond what culture is doing. In a big way.
Well, can we marinate on this for a minute? Just let it simmer. How do you think shame affects our work? So like, for example, if you're ashamed to work for an organization, and there is a 3-letter organization that I worked for a couple of years, and I'm ashamed that I worked for it, and I'll let you fill in the blank what 3-letter organization I work for. And how do you think that will affect good hard things?
Well, I mean,
because if you're in the shame, go ahead.
You should answer, Chad, because you worked for them, right? And so,
yes.
So if an employee is ashamed of the company, first of all, how does that impact good work, good rest? Where does shame fit in that cycle?
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I'll give you both perspectives. I'll give you the perspective before they kind of became a, this attacked kind of deal, and I'll give you the perspective after, right? So before, I was working with a group who, basically they would digitize the basically to
The archives
let it
and
yeah, archives. They would train agents, and they had to go into court and testify, hey, these agents have been trained to the best of our knowledge. They'd show the training videos and stuff. That way, in the court of law, you couldn't have a defendant be like, hey, your honor, this guy was not trained properly, the case dismissed, right? So they had to basically digitize a lot of that. Well, the ethic there was very lax. And so it caused me to be like, well, this stinks. Like, why are these guys there? This is supposed to be upheld in the court of law, and they're not really doing it. And I'm airing a little dirty laundry here, but the attitude behind it was a little cavalier. Like, oh, it's a government job. We'll get to it one day. Right. And that's unfortunate. And it's like, it's not a good, hard thing. Like, it should be a good, hard thing. You should be supporting your agents who are risking their necks, going to overseas or even in our own country where they're, getting attacked and going to really dangerous missions. And then now, my perspective is even more jaded. It's like, well, if they didn't spend that kind of time on that, and they don't want people to, even though FBI trains this, a way of saying you should challenge authority, because authority should be checked. They should be kind of accounted for. How can you do good, hard things if you are feeling ashamed of your company, or if you're ashamed of the mission, or if you're ashamed of the work that you're doing? I mean, how does it make people feel when they're doing things beyond their normal duties? They're doing things because they've been told to do them, and they're doing things that that they don't get any kind of accreditation for or kind of acknowledgement for. That always sounds like several jobs I've had.
well, it sounds like the world
But,
of teachers right now.
Yeah, for sure.
So as companies,
Absolutely.
I think it opens a really interesting idea of how we bring transformation, and part of that is about the way we affect the morale, or the way that people feel about what they do, and the value of that in the community or in the culture around them. So it's powerful. I really appreciate you sharing that, Chad. So this third area, so it's transformation, number one. Number two, beyond the course of what culture and the economy would normally do. And the third one is it helps people reach their highest potential. So it's not enough for us to simply make toil a little easier. So this is, describing the job that Chad was in, for us to deliver Starbucks once a week at no cost, or get free donuts at Dunkin' Donuts. That makes the toil a little bit easier. It doesn't change the toil, and it doesn't lift anybody. So a great example from history is the wheelbarrow. The wheelbarrow is a great invention. Before the wheelbarrow, if you had a heavy load, right, you had some rocks or some bricks or some soil or sand, gravel, two people would have to pick up this large container, and they'd have to walk awkwardly to where it had to be dumped, right? With a wheelbarrow, it only takes one person to do the exact same thing. So that's a great example of something that could be a liberating technology. But that does not create a higher potential, does not lift that person, because now the boss can say, oh, I only have to hire half as many people to get the same amount of work done. All we've done is replace the toil with a slightly different kind of toil, right? And we haven't actually done anything with that worker to give them a skill. Do we teach them how to cut rock or bricks or lay it, or how to set foundations or anything? So I think the example that we're trying to give here is that if you want to do good, hard things, you have to be thinking about the people who are doing the work, and you have to think about how it's going to impact them. Just because it's more efficient does not mean it's going to be a good, hard thing. It might actually make their job no different if you don't lift them in any way. That makes sense to you guys?
Mm-hmm. Well, and I also think about like, the people are like really fighting for minimum wage and all this stuff, and we're seeing places like McDonald's, they're automating a lot of this stuff with kiosks and everything. And I mean, even Walmart is doing it. Hey, Walmart, I'm still waiting for my 1099 for processing all my groceries over the year. But anyways, I'll let that go for right now. Uh, but I almost feel like it's kind of like if you guys have seen the movie Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, where, and I don't even remember the exact details of it, but the Charlie's dad gets fired as, what was it, like a dental guy or something? I can't remember. He gets fired, and then they put in that machine, and the machine does it. Well, then in the end of the movie, he comes in as the repairman for this machine. I almost feel like the skill sets, the good hard things evolve into new good hard things. Does that make sense? Like, just because things are automated or things are more efficient doesn't mean that we get to like kind of rest on our laurels, but it means that we now have the capacity to do even more meaningful things. Does that make sense? Now that stuff is like, I mean, goodness, guys, we can sit there and we can watch Netflix like so easy. It used to be a good hard thing to get out a VHS tape, rewind it, for crying out loud, take you 30 minutes later. I mean, it was like, you better make the popcorn while you are rewinding that baby, because it's going to take a while. And then if you have Titanic, forget it. And why are you watching Titanic in the first place? Anyways, but I mean, that was kind of the deal. That was the good hard thing, to watch a movie on a Friday night, and then you'd have to go rent it and all this stuff. All that's been changed, right? But what's the new good hard thing for that kind of industry?
Well, I wouldn't call that a good hard thing. Although
No, but
it's potentially a rest or leisure thing. But I think you bring up an important point, though. An important point being,
everything is like automated now. Yeah. Anyways, go ahead.
Yeah, everything's automated, but there's a difference between innovation and transformation. I think the point you make is innovation doesn't have to be a bad thing. There's nothing wrong with innovating. Innovation is saving lives. Innovation is making us more efficient, which may or may not be a bad thing. But someone's still got to come fix the thing that got innovated. There's still toil, right? But transformation is about, as Dave said, lifting that person up, giving them more meaning, as opposed to just replacing the meaninglessness with a different kind of meaninglessness. Like in your example with Netflix, we may not have to get up and choose a movie and rewind it and do the whole thing, but now we sit there with kind of analysis paralysis. It's like we have a new problem. And it's just as meaningless as the original problem. It's just a different kind of meaninglessness.
And I would counter argue that like the last blockbuster that's in Bend, Oregon, they're actually transforming people, because they're helping that analysis paralysis. They're having relationships with people. They're having sleepovers, for crying out loud. They want to do things for the community. And I think since we went from blockbuster, we went away from that. But
it brings up another element of this idea of a good hard thing. So it's not just what it does to the worker, it's also what it does to the recipient. So if we use Netflix or Blockbuster or whoever else you want, we all can think of a movie that has been produced at great expense and great labor that is not a good hard thing. It is a destructive force that creates a negative impact on people's hearts and minds. And we can even think of trends in our culture that have been initiated by media that has been developed. It's not a good hard thing. It may have felt like it when they were making it, but the story they're telling, or the way they're telling it, is actually degrading human beings. It is causing human beings to become less, and it's lowering their potential. So when we look at good hard things, it's not just how it impacts the worker. That's a big part of it. It's also, how does it impact the recipient of that service or product? Is it creating in them a lift? Now, we've also seen movies that lift our hearts, that lift our minds, that get us thinking about things. I'm thinking of a book actually that was made into a movie, The Shack, which is a really great story. You know what? It's meaningful to a lot of people. It has created a whole new perspective on God and heaven from that book. Now, whether it's true or accurate, I don't care. For illustration purposes, it's important to see that, things can have this lift ability, or they can pull people down. And in the case of the wheelbarrow, if we go back to that, the wheelbarrow has existed for thousands of years, but it was only used as a labor-saving device in countries that had a biblical worldview. It was not used in countries, even though they knew about it, they didn't care. They had plenty of peasants to carry rocks. So they did not care about the person. So only this idea that people have value is what drives us forward. And we have to look at the impact of our work. And I think technology is a great example. Media is a great example. Some things are better. Are we better off today because we have spell check? Are we? I'm not sure. Right? I don't know. So I think that's another conversation we can have about the value of technology. But as a good, hard thing, we have to say, if it does not help people step up, and now we view this from a creation perspective. We believe that people were created with unique design, unique personality, unique talents. And so that's how we view it. So to us at Story Collaborative, this is a holistic deal. We view it, good, hard things have to lift mentally or physically or socially or spiritually. The whole person has to be lifted, and it has to lift them into what they were designed to do and not drag them down into something that they were never meant to be. I think that's a big differentiator between how we would see this and maybe, people will do just whatever they can to make money.
What are some ways you feel like, I mean, I know we're still workshopping this and sorting through what we define as a good, hard thing in marketing. Like what good, hard things are we helping companies accomplish? But what are some examples you think of that are at least accurate at this point?
Well, I think the principle we have to work with is that there's internal good, hard things we have to do in order to be most effective at the external ones, right? So we have to create a healthy work environment, healthy systems, and healthy ability to grow in order to make a bigger impact in the world around us. So it's both things. But from a marketing and sales perspective, and I like the things that we want to help companies with, and I think it's important to say, like, we want to work with companies that want to do good, hard things. They want to do these three things. They want to lift human beings. They want to create transformation. They want to do what goes beyond the course of the economy or what the culture would produce. So one example would be when we move a sales team or a marketing team from frustrated and fruitless to focused and running on a plan and having the skills they need, that's a good, hard thing. We've just helped that person move into good work, good rest, potentially. Another example would be,
I love that.
Another example would be for businesses in the market, we are in an extremely skeptical, distrusting culture. We now distrust most institutions. We distrust most leaders. We have a very high level of skepticism. So as a marketing and growth company, we help people build trust. So when we help your company build trust with customers, that is no small feat in today's culture. Another example would be helping you as a company to position yourself as a servant leader to give customers the information that they need to make good decisions. So this thought leadership
And
role,
not because, and not just because, not just because that process is what brings leads, but because you legitimately want them to choose a different company if that's what's better for them. I think it's that kind of intention that creates the best content and the best leads, like a genuine heart for them to do what's best for them.
it creates relationships, right? Relationships of trust, which is really big. Another thing that we do, companies cannot be profitable if they do not have a sustainable, profitable way of winning new customers. If they're paying through the ear for advertising that's only maybe working sometimes, and they're paying for lots of it, and their lead flow becomes very, very expensive. So the path to profit always involves this efficient ability to connect with, to build trust, to win new customers. So having a system to do that, and one that's actually working for you, that is a good, hard thing inside a company that allows them to do better for their employees and better for their community.
Mm. I kind of want to go back to this idea that what if marketing doesn't work at all? Like you've tried all this stuff and you just keep spinning your wheels. This is why, when we've mentioned this in other podcasts, this is why we do experiments. This is why we do, little things to see what creates kind of a rolling rock kind of momentum, if you will. So there was I can't remember who said this, but one guy was people asked him what his daily routine is, and he's like this big author and stuff, and he's like, well, if you found out about my routine, you'd be very bored. I usually get up, I make breakfast, I'll go on a walk, I'll take a shower. And he's like, and then I'll just sit there and think, and I'll think about what's the most effective thing I can do today to kind of move the most things at once. And I think a lot of times when we sit down with marketing, we're trying to do stuff, we're trying to do ads, we're trying to do this and that. We don't sit there and think about like, what would be most meaningful to the buyer? Where are they at? Like, sit in their shoes and think, what are their pains? What are their needs? What are their wants? What are their feelings? And I'm not talking about a persona, but like, where are they at in the buyer's journey? Where are they kind of figuring out their problems? Where are they figuring out like, I need to decide on this problem, and how to fulfill that, and how to give value in that.
I think that's a great insight, Chad. It's something that we actually do, right? We do these 30-day buyer journey strategy building things with people. And we do ask all those questions over a 30-day period. And it's surprising, like the questions that people have never asked about what their customers actually care about, where their customers are struggling, where the pain points, the challenges, right? So I definitely think that's a good, hard thing. And I would say the outcomes we've seen from doing that with people, the feedback we get, I would definitely put that in the good, hard thing category, because it really is transformative. It lifts them, it lifts their customers. So I appreciate you sharing that, Chad.
One of the things we do in our process after we've done that, what Dave just mentioned, is we write these outlines for, if we're building a website for you, we write outlines for content for the buyer. What's the buyer going to be reading? What are we going to be talking about on these web pages? And we work with this really great transformative, good, hard thing type of company. And this is like, I don't know, the fourth journey we've built for them across different entities that they're in charge of. But in the middle of reading our outlines, like this wasn't even content, she just started to cry. And I thought it was so cool what it meant for her to have truly identified like the most meaningful things. And this was like on the problem page, the pain lane page, where we talk about what people are struggling with. And it was the first time, I think, that she had seen in any kind of writing truly identified what is this person dealing with and what does it mean to solve that for them. And so that was, I don't know, that was just a really cool experience to watch her even get emotional over the idea of identifying something that their company was helping to solve,
And I think, Amy, that's a great example. When we create aha moments for people, when they've been wrestling with something and they go, oh, there's the answer. Like that can be very transformative for people, especially if it's not just, kind of marketing spiel, right? But it's actually a real solution for a real problem, or it's a real resolution to a challenge that they've been facing. That's a gift, I think, to people. So those are good, hard things, I think.
Yeah. Well, and what would happen, kind of back to Chad's point, like what would happen if marketers in general, salespeople, owners sat down in the morning and asked, who can I connect with because connection matters? Or how can I bless someone in their journey because I want to? Not like what free thing can I give away? Generosity is good too, but just like how can I be a blessing to someone who's trying to figure out what kind of roof they need? Like, we don't sell all the roofs, we sell specific roofs. Like how can I be a blessing to someone who doesn't need our roof? How can I tell them? Who can I tell I don't want to sell you anything? Like if that was our approach and in what we were doing, how much more meaningful would your day be?
It's a powerful idea.
Hmm. So when you think about it, you get people who, they don't like their time being wasted. And so if they go to a roofing company, they're like, "Oh, you don't do that kind of stuff." How much more willing are they going to say, "Hey, my buddy, he needs this kind of roof. Why don't you go with them?" Um,
Yeah.
and I've actually, I will say, like, one time we were helping do a campaign where we wanted to provide car washes for folks, and we were going to have a car washing company come out and do car washes for these folks. And I called all these car washing companies, and they said that we didn't do that. And I was like, at the time I was kind of miffed, but now looking back, I appreciate it, because it's like they didn't waste my time. They're like, "Sorry, we don't do that." It's
Yeah.
like, cool, thank you. You didn't waste my time. I could call more people.
Well, it's definitely a journey. And I think that's as we wrap this conversation up, I think, we're on a journey on this. We are feeling challenged about it for ourselves. We are trying to create good work, good rest for our own team. We're trying to help others do the same thing. We're trying to help companies who want to do good, hard things. They want to make a difference in the world. They want to be mission minded, and they want to lift the kind of human beings to their real potential. And they want to do that in a powerful, sustainable way. So I think it's been a good conversation today. And
Yeah. If you
Thank you, guys.
I'll link a book that our team's reading. If there's somewhere you want to start and you don't know where, one thing you can do is just think about your team. Like, are you creating good work, good rest? Are you creating healthy rhythms for them? There's a really good book we're reading called Grace Over Grind. It's a really simple, fast read, and it is from a biblical perspective, but it's just this idea that we don't produce, God produces. And so the more time you spend grinding doesn't necessarily equal more leads, more revenue, but instead resting in kind of the leading of the Holy Spirit and resting in what God's doing and knowing that at the end of the day, it all comes from him anyway. It's a good book, so I'll link that. That might be a good place to fast read to get your mind thinking about how to help your employees.
awesome.
All right, guys. We'll see you next week. Thanks for listening.
Everyone.